Okay, hey everybody. I'm doing another Madden video. This time I wanted to show you all a little bit about some of my sort of methods of cheating. I call it gaming more than cheating, even though it's, it's cheating. But basically what I do here is I make these little cards for all the players. And I make this draft board. And it's kind of crazy, all the different color codes I have here. So you can see here, this is my roster right now as it stands. All the practice squad players. You can see here, all the players in red are actually players who are leaving the team. They're the ones that are at the end of the contract, and since I pretty much am always over the salary cap, then that means they're leaving the team. I have a thing here where I can keep track of my salary cap and the salaries of the players, but yeah, not this year. Some of the past years, I was able to re-sign some players, but not this year. This year, I'm already in the red. There was no chance, no point of even making an offer to any of the players. None of them are coming back. But you can see here in years past, this is what the draft board looks like at the end of the draft. So you can see all of these players up at the top here. These are the players that I've scouted, quote unquote, scouted, which means I've actually gone ahead into the future and looked at their attributes. And, oh, well, this one, I did re-sign some players, but I didn't make any notes of it. What happened there? I just closed it all. So anyway, you can see here in the free agents, usually right at the top of the list are all of the players that are going to other teams. And it's sad. But I'm always proud of the fact that my players are always like in the top 5 of the free agents available. This is actually a former player who was released, played for another team for about 3 years, and is a free agent again. Nobody's bidding on him, I guess, because he's 34 years old now. He's pretty much past his prime. Same with this one, Russell Diem. He played for me a few years ago, had to release him, and then he played with another team, and now this is going to be the third team he plays for. Looks like the Vikings want him. I don't know this guy, so I don't know where he came from. But you know, this is really just an exercise in seeing where my players are going to go, because as I said before, you could see right there, negative 79 million in cap room. That's not going to happen. I'm not signing any free agents. But I usually like to just look in a little bit and see where my players are going to go. So back here, I made some... Okay. All right, I will. Okay. Actually, I probably won't. But anyway, so these are the players that are being released. These are the players. It's the final year of their contract. Chances are pretty good I'm not going to be able to keep any of them either. Maybe 1 or 2. Some of them I'll probably trade away. Some of them have already had a second contract, and they're probably like 30 years old. Like Sands here, my tight end. Been a really solid player, but he's getting old. Time for him to go on to another team. Obviously, that's spelled wrong. obviously my backup player here for quarterback, I've got my starter under contract. So the backup, he's probably going to be a trade candidate. And even though this guy, Diamond Conrad, is an amazing, awesome, wonderful player, has been great for my team for many seasons. Last year of his contract, he's real expensive, and I've got some super talented players up and coming behind him. I got to let him play. I got to let him play, and I could really use to clear up a little bit of cap space. Now, this guy, my center, Cundiff, you can see here, both of my centers, well, actually, yeah, both of my centers are gone. My backup was good enough to be a starter, but his contract is over. He's leaving. And then Cundiff, it's the last year of his contract. He's also taken a big chunk of my salary. So I'm real interested to see if they're any good enough to start their rookie year. Any centers that are good enough to start their rookie year. Anyhow, so this is what it looks like. I'm stacked at wide receiver, although this guy, Donovan Kugbila, you can see here, super fast, super talented. Unfortunately, he's 30 now. He's actually got 2 years left on his contract. I usually don't trade until the last year of their contract, but I might make an exception here for Donovan because he got hurt like for most of the season last year, and then his first game back he got hurt again. Not for very long, but I noticed his speed dropped a lot, and probably going to have to part ways with him. Most of these guys are development players here. Henry, Spicer. Spicer is funny. He actually, I was going to trade him or even cut him last year, but then he got injured, and the game won't let you cut players while they're injured. So I had to put him on IR, and he just sat on my roster on IR and made money sitting on the couch. But anyway, it's the last year of his contract. I'm going to see if I can trade him. I've developed him quite a bit, but he hasn't really played except for in the preseason. This guy here, Zach Dacus, he's the superstar. He's the coming superstar. These guys down here, I don't know. I kind of like Willie Barrett. You know, what's not to like? 92 speed, 90 acceleration, and he's 6'4". You know, he needs some development, but we'll see what happens with him. And, of course, Smoot and Maben. Really sad I couldn't keep Maben, especially since Kugbila is sort of dropping. But I do still have this guy, Dion Hardison. You know, anytime you have a player with 95, 96 acceleration and speed, they're keepers. Even if they're like this guy, you know, a unsigned, undrafted player, mostly just a practice squad guy. But I don't know. I mean, Pearson Smoot was a practice squad player. He became a starter, and now he's a star, and he's probably going to get a big contract with another team. As a matter of fact, let's look. I think he probably did get signed by another team. Oh, yeah, he's a Ram now, so, you know, he went from being an undrafted free agent to being a highly sought-after free agent with a big contract. So, anyhow, one of the things that I like to do here is I will kind of cheat ahead and make multiple save points. So let's just go ahead and sim ahead to the draft. And while we're doing that, just peep at all my other positions. This one's going to be interesting. I've got 3 players whose contracts going up. Will DeLong, he's my veteran. He's re-signed. All the others are either on rookie contracts or they're on practice squad contracts. These guys, I think, have already been on the practice squad for 2 years. So I've either got to trade them, keep them, or cut them. And it just depends on what the talent is in the draft. I usually keep a tight end player, if they've got speed over 80 and acceleration over 80. Just because those kind of players. And I like to have a run block at least around 70. Sometimes, occasionally, if they're extra tall, maybe, or extra acceleration, I'll keep him even though his run block is 68. It's close enough. But these are the kind of guys I like to keep. 81 run block. He's only got a 78 speed, but he's really just a blocking tight end, like a third string tight end. This guy, though, he's my star. This guy's a blocking tight end. And I usually don't keep a true fullback. I usually just have a really good run blocking tight end as my fullback. And that's just been the way I've done it in Madden. It's a pretty good solution because, the fullbacks, they're not as fast as the tight ends. They usually aren't as strong, and they usually don't block as well. So why not just have a tight end? And they do a good job run blocking, lead blocking. This is kind of a tough situation here. I get these players that are so talented. Look at that 95 strength. By the time they're really at the top of their game, they're at the end of their rookie contract, and I have to let them go. And that's probably what's going to happen with Vilma next year, unless I can free up enough cap room to re-sign him. So here's my interior offensive line. I've got a left guard. I'm going to be missing Gear here. I wanted him to be my starter next year, and I was going to trade away Cundiff and free up cap space. Looks like that's not going to happen, though, because I couldn't re-sign Gear. Anyway, how's this going here? Free agency recap. Let's see where my players went. So Leary is a Lion. Kincaid is a Seahawk. Banta. Oh man. I play the Redskins every preseason. So I'm going to be seeing Banta for quite a while. And he is a very, very good middle linebacker and is probably going to make those games quite challenging. Maben is a Raider. Okay, good for him. Galloway. Oh, no, Galloway is a Colt now. Okay, well, I'll have to be careful. But he is 34. I think my speed receivers can beat him deep. We'll have to see. And Gear is a Bear. Smoot is a Ram, like we saw. This guy is a former player of mine. This is the third team for him. Is that all of them? Oh, no. Townsend is also a Raider. Who else did I release? Serwanga. This guy is also a Raider. So the Raiders have 3 of my former players now. Okay. Serwanga, he didn't really develop into a starter, but he was pretty solid. I used him. He's extra tall. He's a 6'4" cornerback. So whenever I was playing against a team that had a really tall wide receiver, I would sometimes put him in just to line up, just to match up with them. Okay, I believe that's everybody that I had to let go, except for my kicker, which I'm not really worried about that. Kickers are weird, though, because a lot of times you don't really draft them. You just pick them up as undrafted free agents. And like it or not, I'm not going to be able to have a free agent kicker, so I'm going to be stuck next year with whatever kicker I can get in the draft, basically. So, yeah, what I do is, so you could see over the years, I've done a pretty good job at trading and getting value and trading away all the picks that I don't use, that I don't need for picks the next year, until I've gotten to the point where I have so much value in my draft picks. You're only allowed 25 draft picks, so usually I have picks 1 through 25. You can see here, depending on how the other teams do. It's projected 1 through 25, so you can see actually the Lions didn't do as well as they were projected to do. They're picking 16. Same with the Seahawks and the 49ers. So it's ridiculous. And I can't even afford this many players on the team. I don't have enough roster spots for them. So what I end up doing, and you can see if I show you my trades, it's pretty crazy. I have to spend a whole lot of time trading because I've got so much value. Even if I pick 5 players, let's say I pick 10 players and they're 1 through 10, I've still got 15 first-round picks. What am I going to do with them? Well, I'd trade them for the next year. So these are all of the picks that I didn't use, traded for round 1 picks for the next year. So this actually at the beginning was all the different picks from the other teams, and one by one I traded for them. And so every year I start the draft with, basically the entire first round. And it's crazy. So normally what I'll do right now is I'll just save this file. You can see I've got a whole lot of different saved files. We'll just make this one number 1 here. And then I simulate the draft. Actually, what I'll do later on is just simulate each round until the end, and then take little screenshots so I can look at the order of the picks. Sometimes players will drop a lot lower than their value, and because of my salary cap issues, I try to draft them as low as I can so I don't have to pay them as much as they're worth. It's the business, It's not fair, but that's the way I'm able to keep such stacked players on my team. But for right now, let's hear what Adam has to say. Oh, okay, well, that top-tier defensive back. Okay, so looks like as you can see, the simulation, it usually uses all my draft picks. And that means right away I have to cut players. Crazy thing about that is, though, the way these rookie salaries are structured, you take a loss if you cut them. And since I'm already over the salary cap, I can't cut them. So I have to be careful that I only draft players that I really need, I'm really going to keep, and that I don't have any players that I'm planning to cut that are on rookie contracts. But here's where I go to check out all the best players. And I usually start, of course, with... okay, so he's a superstar. 94 speed, 92 accelerator. Yeah, he's good. He is good. He's 6'2". He's a superstar. I'll probably end up drafting this guy. So what I do here is I take screenshots from I take 3 different screenshots because I want to get all of the info here. And then I've got open these with Photoshop, and I've made a macro in Photoshop where I can combine these screenshots. So all copy, close window, paste here, flip to this one, all copy, close window, paste. So when I have all three of these screenshots in one, I've got a macro here that will compile it into a nice little format. And, well, it's not perfect. It's a little bit weird with defensive backs because they have extra secondary attributes. So making one macro that works for all, the same with offensive linemen have less, so I actually made a separate macro for them. I tried to make a defensive back adjustment. It didn't work out so well, but I can get the info that I need. So let's just save Jarek Massey. And I've got folders here for all of the different positions. And then what I do after I have a ton of these is I go in back to Illustrator. Let's oh, wrong file. And then I can drop this here in Illustrator. It's on the wrong layer though. Let's get it here on this layer, right? And I can compare them to the players that I have. And this is how I decide which players I'm going to draft. Is it cheating? Yeah, I guess so. Does it work? Quite well. That's all for this video, and I will talk to you guys later.